In the days leading up to May 24, 2021, the Storm Prediction Center in Norman, Oklahoma highlighted a large area of the central and southern plains for a marginal risk of severe weather. The day before the 24th, a slight risk was introduced, then expanded across western Kansas, then increased to include a large area from Nebraska to New Mexico. The tornado risk was very low, but concentrated in Kansas. I woke up in Goodland that morning, and my plan was the same as everyone else's. The day of the 24th, a 5% tornado risk was highlighting an outflow boundary left over from the previous night's storms. The boundary was clearly visible on satellite that morning, and for chasers that day, the plan was simple. Find the boundary and stay on it. The thought process was that any storms that could latch onto the boundary could have a localized enhanced tornado potential. Boundaries can be hard to predict what exactly will happen on them during a severe weather event, but these have been known to create some legendary days across the plains. Driving south, I encountered a heavy fog indicating that moisture was already in place. The fog persisted until I got south of the outflow boundary, which was already starting to fire off storms a little after 1 p.m. Around that same time, the Storm Prediction Center issued a mesoscale discussion highlighting that the outflow boundary would be a focus for any localized tornado threat, but there were still a lot of questions about storm potential. At 1:30, a tornado watch was issued for western Kansas with an unexceptional tornado risk. I was on the first storm of the day, which fired off by Leota. This storm quickly grew, and there was a lot of anticipation that this storm might produce a tornado relatively fast. However, even with some attempts at a wall cloud, storm interactions caused the Selden to struggle. Eventually, my north option was cut off, and I didn't want to risk driving into large hail, so I decided to blast west to get in front of this cell. At this time, there were multiple storms going off, and I was hearing that the cell to the north was producing small tornadoes. I decided to keep with the first storm, as I thought it would have the highest chance of interacting with the boundary and creating a more significant tornado threat. I eventually turned north at Scott City and tried to cut off the storm along US Highway 83 towards Oakley. The storm looked unimpressive, so I was dealing with the ultimate chaser's dilemma. Do I stay on the storm I'm on, or do I move on to another? If I move on, which one do I pick? I must have driven up and down 83 4 or 5 times, being completely unable to decide on what to do. Eventually, my southern route was cut off, and I was forced to go north towards Oakley. What I didn't realize was that the boundary had shifted north, and the northernmost cell, paralleling Highway 83 towards Selden, was starting to interact with it. I started moving towards the northern cell. As I did, I saw a weak funnel that was later confirmed to be on the ground by other spotters. However, the storm was growing more and more impressive. A little before 6, the storm had begun to show signs of a very healthy supercell with a powerful updraft and intense rotation. At 6:05, as the storm approached the small town of Selden, Kansas, the storm generated a large funnel, and eventually, the Selden EF1 was born. There were a few other attempts at creating tornadoes after it moved out of Selden, but ultimately nothing else formed. While there was damage done in the town of Selden, the tornado only obtained a rating of EF1, making it a weak tornado. There were no fatalities and only one injury. For me, this was the second to last May chase of the year and would go down as the last tornado I saw in 2021. While definitely scary, it was incredible to see the power of nature so up close and personal.